Good afternoon, everybody. We'll get right into it. This is a recessed face. You can see how these are still a little bit dirty. You might see some carvings in there for some eyes. This is more than likely a person with a bird hat on, but let's just ignore that for now. The recessed section right here is going to be the facial profile of the person. There's going to be several on this stone. So we're going to go ahead and look for the bird now. The whole stone, the whole thing kind of looks like a parrot. You see that this whole thing, I'll be holding the beak right there, and this would be the eye, this big round section. Looks like a big old parrot head to me. You guys can see that there. This is a multifaceted art style, and at this site there are several birds. And animalmorphic images as well. So this is probably the duck head. You can see the head and this whole section right here, the line being a recessed beak. Then the whole thing is probably a bird. This would be the beak right here. Take a look for some surface images as well. You'll see bird after bird. There's a little eye and a little crest and a whole little bird body. That's the butt. That's the beak. All the way up, all the way there. That's the beak. Let's look for the white surface image here. Perhaps a person. Maybe one this way. See the mouth there, perhaps. It's a beautiful stone, beautiful piece of art. You can really see that eye carved in right there. So if you look at it like this, it almost looks like the girl version of the bird. Animalmorphic, half bird, half human. Very cool. I like it. I hope you guys do too. Take a look at some of these little birds that I got today. I'll go ahead and zoom in for some of these. Just little tiny birds. You can see, go ahead and point this one out. Let's go ahead and make sure it's focused. See his little beak there. Just a little bird. Little bird. Here's a bird head, cardinal head. I always said, you know, they're not gonna look like Woody Woodpecker. Well, I guess I lied. Because there you go, there's your Woody Woodpecker, guys. Everybody on board now? So there's also probably the bird in flight this way. And this is a little bird head. There's a recessed beak on this side pointing out. A little cardinal top there. Make sure it's focused for us. It's a really nice one. Sorry about the focus. A lot of times you'll see a giant eye in it. I think I might see one. Right here, this big circle, this is the pupil. You can see this black line, imagine two more right there. You see the circle there. This is the recessed beak. This is the crest of a little cardinal. We have some duck beaks as well. I'll show you the shape of that. You'll be able to see some little eyes as well on these duck heads. Of course, this is the beak on this side. Here's a point. Little broken tip. You didn't expect to see that, did you? Well, this is an ancient site, and there are some leftover weapons. I'm sure Native Americans also visited this site as well. They knew about them and perhaps were part of something that was going on there. Little tiny itty bitty bird there. Of course, if you're not seeing it at first, there's its beak. I might have shown you guys this one already. Okay, let's look at some larger ones real fast. Got a lot of really cool ones and small ones here. and I want to kind of show you guys some birds, because sometimes the birds are easier to see. Go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. Might notice maybe it looks like a bird beak with a crest, but might see some other type of imagery as well. So this is of course a face of a person. This is a long, every single one of these images, these face stones are very detailed, and they have all the hair and everything that you can see here. And then the eye would be there, the nose. And then when we get it tilted right, you'll be able to see a mouth come out. You see how the lips poke out there to make a mouth. So it's all about tilting and moving this art around to make these face images. And a lot of them, you can see that this is all the big cheek. That's the cheekbone. A lot of them are multifaceted. Every single one of these is multifaceted, but there's different ways that you can see the art. So there's also surface imagery. So that's on the edge, as if you're looking over the shoulder. But there's also images on the surface as well. So just like a picture or a portrait of a person. So let's go ahead and take a look over here. I think I see a nose and an eye above it. Perhaps the lips down there. Let's just take a look. I see an eye right here, maybe an open mouth, let's say, for right now, before we flip it upside down, because I'm already seeing what's upside down. So upside down, you can see a diamond right here. See those lines? This is a portrait of a person with a long nose. And you see how those little tiny indentions for the lips, you see how minute they are. They will always be there. There's the eye, the nose, and the lips of a 3D ancient statue of a person with a very tall headdress. This is their face right here. You guys can see that triangle shaped eye in there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and move it around as well so you guys can see. See how that eye shines? They polish that eye. So it only gets square after you turn it, into a diamond shape after you turn it. So let's go ahead and get a close-up look here. You see the line and the dot in the middle and the two little lines. That's an eyeball. There's also different eyes in here as well. You see this right here with the lines coming out of it. Let's see what we can see there. A lot of times those really wild and crazy eyes are going to be eyes that are on the headdresses and on the hair. Or they may, as I found out earlier, they may also be flowers sometimes too. Sometimes they're eyes and flowers. That's the way this art works. It's multifaceted, so it's tricky. We can go ahead and take a look at another one. But this is a really complicated one, as you guys can tell. This is my first time looking at it. Let's look at an easier one. So this one's a lot of fun. Let's see. So the way that I like to do it, of course, it resembles a bird this way, but it's also a totem guy. So his eye is right here, his nose, and then his mouth. With the totem guy, they got a longer face. This is all his hair poking out. You guys can see that one. You're also going to pick up on some petroglyphs and things. This was just washed. So let's go ahead and flip it over. You can see what's going on here. It's a big carving and a big spot in the middle. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Sorry if I put the light in the camera there. So I want you guys to be able to see any of this paint if possible. Let's go ahead and look at a couple faces. So to remember which way these faces go, there's a couple of them. So this is the long nose, laughing mouth, of course, and that you can see how the end of it is painted red, just the end. And that's a style that I actually have others of. You can see how this line is up here. The rest of this is a square headdress. Think Egypt. So there's some pretty awesome stuff in here. You can also see where this is wet inside here. There's also a circle in there. It might be resembling an eye looking straight up at us. They like to do that. There's also probably an eye on this hat. There's also just a portrait like this, the nose and the lips and the long chin, where they're wearing some kind of, probably some kind of animal hat or something. So just look at that section for a second and you can see a portrait there. So there's probably a bird on top there somehow, some way. I've got moths just flying up. So the whole thing, if you look at the whole thing, I'm seeing, if you tilt it enough here, you can see the eye, the nose, and the lips, the whole stone being a portrait now, and now that we've tilted it the right way. And this is the way this art is. It's tricky like this. So you want to make the face correct. And so it takes a lot of shifting. It's not that they look obscure or abstract or that the styles are so wild that they're not recognizable. It's that it takes a long time to get that exact representation. But once you see that representation, you're like, whoa, just like with the birds. When you flip the birds around, you're like flipping it around, trying to find a bird. Well, when you do this, you're flipping it around, trying to find a facial profile. And when you find it, you're like, oh my goodness, there it is. Cha-ching. You know, so the other side, if you just look at this top section of stone, there's going to be an eye chiseled in where it's still wet, the nose right here, and then he's got the long chin with the upper lip, with the lips poked up kind of there. You also see some designs and markings and things on here. You see this round, it's probably an eye. You can try to play around with some shadows here a little bit. There's a lot more on this though. So where is the other good one? There's a couple other good ones in here. There's just a yelling mouth version here, where his nose is here and his eye is up top somewhere, probably right here in this spot, if you guys can see. Try to keep it zoomed in while I get a little closer. Bring it away from you. So there's some characters in this one. All right, let's look at one more before we go. At least one more. This is kind of fun. I'm having a good time. So this is one of the archetypes. I got a lot of good ones today, so that's kind of why. But you know, you got his little headdress here. So he's got like a little turban on. This is a turban style fella. And if we tilt him right, we'll be able to see how he gets his lips in there and stuff. You might even see some eyes if you look for him in spots, but you can see the lines and things going across his turban. See some carvings right here. You can see that carved out eye. See the half moon shape? Okay. When you get good at seeing this art, you can spot this stuff out a mile away. So you see the little lines in here? You see how that is a crafted, I mean, I know you guys can't see the eye yet, but you can tell there's something going on there. Let me go ahead and move it away and bring it closer. Of course, we're looking right at this corner. I keep just a couple fingernails very long so I can still preen my little parrot that I have, so don't pick on me because of a couple long fingernails. There's also some big duck heads here. go ahead and keep it focused. These are pretty nice little duck heads. You can always tell because of the round head and then the beak. Sometimes they're even goose heads because they have the little nostril things coming out. So this is going to be one of the archetypes with like the big hair or big, you know, the face is going to be recessed in here, just like always. Keep it over the white there. Move some of these things out from under this. So think of big headdress. This line right here is where, like, let's say this version that I'm looking at is, this whole thing is a headdress right here, and then the face is just right inside there. So if you take a look at that face and then you bring out the rest of this, that's all a big headdress, and there's little petroglyph eyes on the top of this. You can see the carvings inside the top of the hair there. See how it's really shiny right in that middle spot right there, and look at the little lines coming out from around that little spot. That little spot that shines is an eye. You can see the little lines. See the half moon? Okay, so that could be an eye, but also could be a flower in this person's hair. So the yellow, a lot of times when you see this bump and the yellow, that would be the hair. And so there's probably a portrait of a woman in here. Usually that portrait is a little larger. You see some lines up here. That means there's going to be an eye there, but there's also an eye here. So let's go ahead and look. Of course, we're looking at the nose as being the longest point out, and then we're looking for a little mouth to be inside there. The one that keeps on coming out to me is the eye right here, all tucked in version, where he's all tucked into a crazy all headdress, you know. All this whole thing right here where the feather is all headdress, this whole section right here. Okay. Everything back here, this is all just the face in here. So yeah, we took a deep dive on that one, guys. It's really awesome. Thanks for doing that with me. Let's go ahead and probably call it at that. I have a lot more to go through, and I'll show you some more soon as this progresses here. There's some good ones that just have good facial profiles. Of course, the eye, the nose, and then once you see those little lips, there's just no denying it. This is a portrait of a person. Let's go ahead and look on the right hand side. And of course here too, we'll see how we have an open mouth, the nose. Let me go ahead and get this out of our way respectfully. These are, I get excited about these, and sometimes, you know, I have to remind myself these are artifacts. The site that these were all buried at, they were buried there for a reason. They didn't just end up there. They're not everywhere like they are where they're at here. So, you know, this very well could be a burial site. Eye, the nose, and then the mouth there, and you can see all this is hair on the top here. And I'll just expose his face, and you can see that eye carved in. That white spot is the pupil. This is the big version of the little guy that I pointed out in one of the last two videos. So you can see his little eye carved in there, and it goes around like this, and up on the top it's carved in. If you guys were here in person, you'd be able to see it, because the people at the show were able to see it because they could see it in person. So it's also going to be a face this way as well, several of them. You can see the eye, nose, and then little lips, just looking at the yellow section. And then the rest of this is all hair. See all the hair coming up? Just looking at this is the eye, the nose, and then the little lips, and it's got a pointy chin. There's a couple different ways to look at it, but that's the way I'm seeing it there. Some things by chance and others by design. You'll be able to spot that eye, your favorite eye that you see. There's a couple different ones, especially if we tilt it. This is the way, you see how there's other little chunks sticking out. When you tilt it to where those chunks disappear, that's when you really get the picture that is intended. So it's always a perfect face, symmetrical by size. That's how you know you've got it right. Think big headdresses, really long hair, just a small little face. So they got little face here, and then you got another bigger face here as well. Go ahead and adjust the light just a little. And keep it focused. So you guys know what a portrait looks like. This is a portrait of an ancient person. The eye, the nose, and the lips. The hair swooping back. You see how it's all rippled? It's just all coming back here. Look at it all wispy. I had fun. I hope you guys did too. We'll go over the rest later. See you guys.